I'll tell you another example that we were actually guilty of for a while. And I don't get to say that very often, but this was something that I just kind of looked over. So it turns out I was having my customer pay me an extra $150 for them to get their insurance.
The whole basis of our society is built on payments.
All right, Ray, the automotive industry is a shady place. So we have this headline from Automotive News: NY dealership sues former finance manager, alleges he accepted kickbacks from extended warranty. I'm sure you have tons and tons of stories of people taking some money on the side from some bribes happening. I know I have a couple myself. I've had some companies that I've dealt with in my actual business, and this has only been within the last 7-8 years. So it's not an old school thing. It's still happening today, but this just happens all over the car market, and it's going to continue to happen wherever there's money to be made.
The unfortunate reality is that some vendors will buy their way into a business.
Let me talk about what happens in the used car market right now. So just like extended warranties with something like this, we have companies that will come in and try to sell us extended warranties, and we'll say, okay, what's so great? And not talk about how great it is for the customer, but talk about how great it is for the dealership, for us. So we're supposed to sell these extended warranties to the customer. They cost $300-$400 or whatever, but we instantly get $150 kickback. Yeah. So if you go to a used car dealer, oftentimes you'll get an extended warranty offer with all these things, and it's not provided by the actual used car dealer that you're buying it from, but these used car dealers, they get kickbacks, and a lot of times they're a lot of money in kickbacks. And that's why a lot of these dealerships want you to buy these products, because there's 100% margin in a lot of these products for the amount of effort that these dealerships have to, because they're just selling a product for someone else that they don't have their hands in at all. I'll tell you another example that we were actually guilty of for a while, and I don't get to say that very often, but this was something that I just kind of looked over. So we have to have insurance on our cars from our consumer before we can actually sell these cars to the consumer, before we can give them tags, before we can give them a temporary tag.
The state requirement, I would think.
Yeah. State's required for us in North Carolina that we have to have insurance before we can do any of the stuff, and they can leave with our car. So we were having a bunch of, we sell cars that are $5,000 and under. So our client base sometimes have a hard time getting insurance. So they have to call multiple companies. So we had this one company come in one time, and they said, okay, well, we shop insurance rates for a lot of customers. And if you just want to have them call us, and if they just happen to sign up with one of our agencies that we're dealing with, then we'll give you $150. I was like, oh, well, that sounds like a win-win, because you have this dedicated line that our customer can immediately call you. And a lot of these insurance companies that we've dealt with before, the customer stays online forever. This company was very fast. So it seemed win-win-win all the way around. And it turned out that it looked like the rates were good. We were hearing about rates because I wanted to check in with the customer to make sure nothing funny was going on. So we did this for a while, and we were selling 8, 15, 20 cars a week. And about half of them were signing up for this insurance. And we were making so much money from this, it started to feel weird. Yeah. And I said, okay, well, you know what? I probably need to look into this, because when anything seems too good to be true, it probably is. Yep. So I started talking to my sales manager, my sister, who is also my title clerk. She does some sales for us. And I was asking about deposits. And it turns out that all of their deposits seemed like they were about $150 higher through this company than if they would just call straight to Geico, if they would just call straight to any other company. So it turns out I was having my customer pay me an extra $150 for them to get their insurance. So we turned that deal off as fast as you could, and we say, you know what, we're out. Don't we? And now we just let our customers get their own insurance. We put all the numbers for the place, but even something like that, they can slip in, and if the dealer is trying to do the right thing and trying to help out the customer, there still might be a workaround somewhere else that palms are getting greased when maybe they shouldn't.
Money exchanging hands. Anytime money exchanges hands, there there are enough creative people involved in the process that can figure out ways to encourage someone to have the money exchange hands with them. And so yeah, I had a salesperson that worked for me that was also a licensed insurance agent in the state, and anybody that needed insurance, whether it was at our dealership or any others, they would call this salesperson. He would give them an insurance quote. He would bind them, and he would pay them what is affectionately referred to in the business as a bird dog or a finder's fee for having placed their customer having placed their insurance through this salesperson. It is in most states illegal to pay people a finder's fee, a bird dog fee for this. Um, but for this salesperson, it was a way to increase his annual income. He paid a fee for having someone having placed an insurance policy through them. There was a company called TrueCar, which was a lead generator, a lead provider. And when TrueCar first started in business, their whole premise was, you'll pay us X amount of dollars for any new car lead that buys a new car, and X amount more for any used car lead that buys a used car from you. It was a finder's fee. It was a bird dog fee. It was illegal in most states, which is why at a certain point in time, TrueCar had to change how they were getting paid. And they just charged X amount of dollars per month for the leads that they were providing to you, as opposed to paying you paying them for each customer that actually bought a car, because it was illegal in most of the states that they were operating. Bird dogging and finder's fees are illegal in most states, whether you're selling somebody a lead to buy a car, or once they bought the car, or selling them, like in this New York dealership. The F&I, allegedly, the F&I manager was collecting between $40,000 and $60,000 from the vendor for having placed the extended warranties through that vendor as opposed to a different vendor. And that vendor was also providing vacations. So it is, anytime money can change hands, there's an opportunity for things that shouldn't happen to happen, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so I want to ask you a question about like bird dogging and where it applies maybe today. So there's big sensation that's popping up through the automotive space right now. It's being very popular on YouTube. You guys do it, a car buying service. We got Tommy from Delivered that does a similar thing. There's a couple other companies, and they're starting to pop up. And what's I hear Zach talk about this. I hear Tommy talk about this as far as a car buying service or a concierge service being different than a broker. And what I hear a lot is that automotive brokers will take money from the actual dealership versus the customer. Have you ever dealt with when you were in the business? Did you deal with any brokers, and can you explain kind of what happens in that situation? Because I've always been curious about it, because I don't know that world.
Yeah, brokers in many dealerships, brokers can come in and help sell cars. And many brokers collect a fee from the customer and from the dealership. Many services like Tommy's, I'm assuming, and our concierge service, we don't take any money from the dealership. We only collect money from the customer that we're representing. Um, to me, it was unethical when brokers would come in and they'd say to us, "Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to sell the car for X. Then I want you to add $250 more to the X so that you can cut me a check back for that $250 without the customer knowing it." And meanwhile, the broker has charged the customer whatever the broker charged the customer. Um, that that to me is unethical when you're taking money from both parties. And I there was a time where at dealerships I worked in where I refused to do business with brokers because they operated in the manner where they took money from the customer that they represented and from the dealership. And I didn't want to be part of that. I didn't think our dealerships should participate in something that um, where the broker was being underhanded enough not to let the customer know that he was also collecting a fee from the dealer. So I tried not to sell to brokers. A broker was a competitor as far as I was concerned, and why did I want to help that competitor sell my customer the car? Um, I would try and figure out a way to get the customer to come to us without having to utilize a broker and just pay us a profit as opposed to paying the broker a profit and the dealership paying the broker a profit.
So I feel like this falls into the saying, very, very, very old saying, but you can't serve two masters. And
You can't.
I feel like the broker can't serve the dealership and the consumer at the same time. They're going to lean, and that's why probably the broker is what you wouldn't want to deal with when you were in a dealership, because they're either going to give the favor to the dealership and the customer is not going to get the best deal, or they're going to give the favor to the customer and then the dealership's going to maybe get screwed out of the deal that they maybe should have gotten.
Yeah, you have to choose who you can't be both the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. You can't be both. There's a conflict of interest there. Okay. So that you have to decide, are you the buyer's agent or are you the seller's agent? And many brokers try to be both. And I think what Tommy does, and I know what we do, is we are just the buyer's agent. We don't want anything from the dealership, because once you take something from the dealer, that becomes, it's unethical, it's unfair to both parties. So you have to decide, you're one or the other, but you can't be both.
All right, so all of you watching it here, I know most of you are not subscribed, so I need you to hit that subscribe button. Whatever we need to do to get you to hit that subscribe button, Ray will do it. So just hit it for us and let us know what he needs to do down in the comments to get you to subscribe.
The whole basis of our society is built on payments.
And now let me talk about payments and how you should approach them. You should not borrow money. Okay, I'm not going to tell people what they should or should not do. I don't want to borrow money on any cars. I am always going to pay cash for a car. If I feel like I have to get into a car and I have to have a monthly payment, I am not going to go that route. I'm going to try to scratch up as much money as I can and buy the cheapest possible car I can, and just know that I'm going to have to fix something on it and just keep that emergency fund, because your car, if you have a cheap car, something's going to break. Now, this is coming from take this with a grain of salt, but this is someone who doesn't like debt at all. This is also a car dealer who sells cars for $5,000 and under and serves that kind of community. But I've until a few years ago, I have driven cars that were $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, and guess what? We've been okay. and they can run, and you got to take care of them. But you can do it. You can have a car and not have a car payment. It is possible. But I know that a lot of you out there are going to take the alternate way, and this is why we have Ray here too, because there are two different ways. I think there should be one way, and Ray knows that a lot of other people take a different way.
You are the exception to the rule. If everybody in this country only bought what they could afford, the economy would crash tomorrow. Our the whole basis of our society is built on payments, monthly payments. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying is what has built our economy since, I don't know, what do you want to say? Since the Great Depression, since World War II, it has been nothing but debt, making money available to those who need to borrow it so they can buy the things that they would like to have, that get advertised to them 84,000 times a day, whether it be on the internet, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on regular TV. So you are the exception, but this country would go to hell in a handbasket if people didn't avail themselves of credit. And businesses. Major businesses would go to hell in a handbasket if they didn't avail themselves of credit. Now, what happens with major businesses is they figure out how to become too big to fail. And so all the banks that they owe the money to are going, okay, we got to work something out here. But for the most part, everything in our economy is based on businesses or consumers borrowing the money they need in order to buy the things they want. I'm just guessing here. I'm spitballing. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing you didn't pay cash for your house.
We did not.
You mortgaged it, didn't you?
Correct.
Why? Because that's the only way you can afford one.
So here's where I am okay with with putting a mortgage on a house, because that money that let's say we put a down payment and whatever the house costs, we owe $500,000 on the house. Let's just say, throw that number out.
Okay.
And I have that $500,000 sitting around, but if I have a 5 or 6% interest rate on my mortgage, I feel like if I put that $500,000 or $600,000 in the stock market, I'm going to get a better return versus that. That's a different argument for a mortgage versus a car loan, where I feel like, okay, that is going to go down in value, where my house is at least going to stay steady to go up. So I'm okay borrowing money on that, because I feel like I can get a better return from not paying that off and putting that money in the market. That's my argument for that.
Well, and typically homes have appreciated over time. There's been very few instances where they have not. And so that people feel as if they're safer borrowing the money against a home, because they know in most cases the value of that home is going to go up over time. And yeah, unless you're buying like an Enzo Ferrari, I can pretty much guarantee you that whatever car you buy is going to go down in value.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So, I mean, for us, we're not going to take any consumer debt. We're not going to take any debt on any vehicles. And the only reason we're okay taking debt on a mortgage is maybe not because of the affordability thing, but because of the asset class that it's in and where we can allocate our money to work more for us, versus just paying off the house.
I hear you. I understand. Makes sense. But you are still the exception to the rule.
Yeah, I know that, and I wish it wasn't the case, because I do think maybe our economy would go to crap instantly if people just stopped using credit. But I think it would be very good after that, because I think everyone's houses would be in order a lot more than what they are right now.
I agree with that as well. Might not make as much profit on the sale of a mini sponsored extended warranty as they would from a extended warranty from an outside vendor, and the manufacturer would prefer that you sell there. I don't know what that noise is. The manufacturer would prefer that you sell theirs, and the vendor wants you to sell theirs. The owner might say, I want you to sell the manufacturer's extended warranty. The vendor saying, we want to encourage you to sell ours. If we could somehow figure out a way to pay you 50 or $100 extra for ours that you sell, would you be interested in doing that? Now, most finance managers are going to say, sign me up. It's just that simple. Is
So
somebody vacuuming?
yeah, we got. I guess we got a house being built right next to us right now, and I guess they're just drilling through our house right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, perfect. This is great for the show.
Don't they know we're doing a show?
All right. Anyway,
hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Tell every living person you know that they need to subscribe to Car Sense with Brandon and Ray.